Okay, viewer's choice today. Viewer's choice meaning
Nice.
I didn't pick any videos out. I mean, I have a few in mind that I'd like to show possibly, but uh, I I want to leave it open. So if you all have something to watch, we can find it, hopefully. I think what I'm going to do instead of me just picking a video, for those that you don't know, Tim Cullen is the vice chairman of Officials Institute. Helps me out a lot with a lot of the videos I put together and just making sure I don't say stupid stuff that goes on YouTube and, stays there forever. So, Tim Cullen, do
Yes,
you
sir.
have anything that you'd like to watch to start the
I,
meeting off, or you just want me to pick
I,
something?
no, I actually do. I would like you to look at Pass and Crash because I actually had a playoff game down here and I had a dribble drive that started in trail and I was at trail and the dribbler passed the ball to the 3-point area. So my eye went there and all of a sudden I look up and there's two guys on the ground. So
Okay.
it makes me think of that.
Okay,
And
great.
and one more, if you get time, I'd like to look at calling out of your primary.
Okay.
But
Tho-
pass the
Those
crash is what I really want to talk about or
those are
see.
two
Thank you.
good
Josh,
suggestions. Pass and crash
Josh, if you
general.
get
Yeah, George.
if we get time, I'd like to talk about the closely guarded rule
Okay.
because I saw a lot of I'm confused on what's being called and what's not being called. When you start, when you stop, when you don't start. Yeah, I thought it was egregious what happened in the playoffs last year. Anyway, but
Okay.
if we could go maybe walk through the primary closely guarded rule, that would
Okay.
help.
So far, pass and crash, closely guarded, primary coverage. I think pass and crash, Tim, is a good start.
Okay, great.
What I actually had put out a couple days ago, for those of us who are on Facebook, our Facebook friends, I posted a pass and crash video. So it actually fits perfectly, which is a good one to start on. So let's start with our Facebook play. Our pass and crash that I posted on Facebook. If you are not on Facebook, first time you're seeing this. If you are, this is what we posted a couple days ago. I'm going to let it play fast as we normally do, our regular speed, and then we'll slow it down and we'll talk about it. All right, did we see that? This actually has the reason I clipped this play is there's two kind of crash plays on this. One is a pass and crash. The other one is a block charge type play. Here it is one more time. Now that you've seen it, you know what to look for. Okay, so player drives into the lane. I don't know if this player wants to try and score or not, but ultimately passes the ball because he sees he's being stopped. Continues through the player and knocks him over. No call by the officials. Okay. And then we have the dribble drive to the lane to score. And we've got a block call on this one. What are your thoughts? Primarily on the pass and crash, but we can comment on the other one as well. It's all part of the same play. What do we think?
I think it was a good no call on the pass and crash, actually. I mean, I think the guy's kind of the defensive guy is kind of going forward there and created some of that contact.
I got
I
a
mean,
foul in the
definitely-
I got a foul in the crash.
Okay, but a blocking foul or
I agree.
a team control foul?
Team control for me.
Blocking.
Like
Pass and crush.
Where is this blue player trying to go?
Trying to go sideways.
Looks like
Yeah.
he's trying to go around him, doesn't it?
yeah, he's trying
Oh,
to
yeah.
avoid the contact.
Okay,
yeah.
and the contact happens why? Does White continue to try and make that contact happen?
It sure looks like it.
And his arms are spread out like a clothesline, which is not legal.
His
Now, I
feet are not
realize
stable he never. I don't think he ever gets legal position.
Well, he's pretty legal initially.
You look at the right foot, Mike.
He's too wide.
It's-
He's outside.
Yeah, he's wide. Yeah, you're right.
He's outside his frame.
Right.
But where does the contact happen?
What do you mean?
The shoulder.
Just because your legs are wide
Yeah.
doesn't
Well, it
make
looks
it
like-
an illegal foul.
No,
Right?
it looks like it's contacts at the waist right there.
Okay, at the waist. Now, I'm not
Right.
saying this is a team control foul. I'm just saying
Yeah.
I don't think the legs really come into play on this because contact didn't really happen on the leg. It happened on the hip.
True.
I also think we're not talking about the fact that this is an airborne player.
He's airborne now,
Right now.
after he passes
So-
the ball. And airborne
so he's-
players, go ahead, Jeff.
Well, I was going to say, an airborne player, he has to be in position when he goes, by the time he goes airborne. After he goes airborne, he has to be in position. So he can't move over and cut him off with his movement on an airborne player. He's got to allow the airborne player to run into him, not him cut him off.
Now, I will say this one to me is tough. And honestly, I think is probably why it got passed on, because could you have a team control? You could. Could you have a block? You could. I'm not sure what's the right answer. I would lean to it being a block. If you're not sure, it should probably be a block, but I don't know. I mean, it's pretty bang bang, but I think the blue makes the effort to get around the player, and I think white kind of tries to make sure that contact happens.
And that's why I'm saying I think that's why it matters that he's airborne, because if he's on the ground, then we got a different situation. But the fact that he goes airborne and jumps kind of away from him, and the defender seems like he's still coming as he goes airborne, the only foul, in my opinion, would be on the defender.
I think if the defender stays here and decides, you know what, I'm going to take this contact now that the blue is airborne, right? It looks like if he were to stay, that blue player would have missed him.
Yeah, I mean, he's moving over to the left,
Okay, so I think we can all, well, we can't all agree, but we could say probably a block, but are we okay with a pass on this?
Yes.
Yeah, I think a good no call there.
I'm okay with a pass. It looks kind of bad because the player goes to the floor, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I think the defender causes the contact and the defender kind of says, well, you know what? I'm going to fall down and make it look like I got fouled. All right, let's move on to the next crash. All right. Do we have a legal guarding position here?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And our blue player is not airborne yet. And this is not the NCAA where they've got to get there before that foot is planted. So right now, the white player has a legal guarding position. But what does he do?
He moved forward with his chest.
Well, like he puts
Turned
his arms
sideways.
out too.
It looks like the blue player again makes an effort to go around this player. And the contact happens because white makes sure he throws his arm into the player and bumps him.
Yep.
I think this is a great, great blocking call because that affects his ability to shoot the ball. We've got to have a foul on that, which he did, and it's got to be on white. Do we agree with that?
Yes.
So we've got a pass on a on a pass and crash, which we could have called a block, but decided we're going to let this play because he's got a good pass to the bucket. And then another one, which is very similar, I think, to the pass and crash where we had a block, but that involves a shooting player, therefore needs a foul. Yes? You can disagree. It's okay.
I thought it was a good call.
Let's see. Here's another passing crash that I put on Facebook. I don't know if I've played this on a meeting or not yet, so I'm just going to play it and we'll see, since it's another Facebook passion crash play.
So fast there.
Yeah, that's a good call right there.
Now this one
Yeah.
has a whistle. Looks like a delayed whistle. It's a cadence whistle for those that like that terminology. It happens in the center's area. The center doesn't get it because the center's following the ball. We didn't talk about this in the other play, but we'll talk about it here. So the lead picks it up. Should the lead have had this call, or does the lead let the center have this? And if he doesn't call it, he just lays off and say it's the center's call.
Huh.
I think that was good that he came in and got it.
Because do we agree that this was a foul?
I certainly think it's a foul.
I don't know.
No.
I think the guy flopped.
No. Yeah.
I think White.
agree.
I think there was definitely some contact, but
Yeah,
the
but-
contact didn't really knock the defender over, correct?
Yeah, I thought a lot of theater there.
I think we got to be careful as the lead calling across the lane on these kind of plays. We got to be real careful. And part of it is because he's looking through his back as well. So I don't
Agreed.
even know if he has the full
Yeah,
perspective
that's true, Jeff. That's true.
on the nature of this play. Now, he has a cadence whistle. So I think that's good that he's not in a hurry to call this, but I'm not sure that he has the best angle because he's looking through White's back.
I agree that the lead did not see what happened. The lead saw everything that happened afterward, but couldn't really, from where he's standing, determine what kind of contact happened. I do not think that the center should be making this call, because what is the center watching? The center has to watch. Now, I'm not saying the center can't watch multiple things, but his primary focus has got to be that ball that was passed
Yeah.
away to the player closest to
Yeah.
him. In fact, the center probably should be moving upward away from the ball to get a little bit better an angle as he sees that ball being passed. Do we agree with that?
Yeah.
Yes, he's a little low.
He's a little low. He could move up and improve his spot here. But I think if anyone, and this is why the trail, if we look at the trail is way out of position.
Big time.
The trail should be in the home position, which is where? What's our home position for the trail?
28 foot.
3 foot line. 3-point line, top of the arc, extended. It's not the 28-foot mark. I think it used to be years ago, but for the last 10
Yeah.
plus years or so, it's been the 3-point line. And at least in Illinois, they're really starting to push that trail to be down. And this is why, because in a play like this, the trail probably would have had the best look at it and could have
Well,
ruled.
he's actually higher than the 28-foot mark too. So
Yeah.
Agreed.
now
The
they-
28-foot
they
mark is
still-
actually 3 feet above the 3-point arc.
right. So he's even a little further away and not as engaged in the positioning. He needs to be at least a 28-foot mark. I would say at least. I think you can be a little lower, but 28-foot mark to me is a good starting point as opposed to being in the corner.
Are we okay with no rotation on this?
Probably should have been one, or at least a
Yeah.
close down position.
I think a close down is probably
Yeah.
appropriate, but I don't think
Yeah,
a
I wouldn't say
rotation was
that.
warranted yet, because it was a quick drive in and then passed it right out again. And where's the majority of the players? It's strong side with the 2 officials, so I think that's okay. But that trail's got to put himself in a better position. This way, a play like that happens, and it happens a lot, and we've all been fooled. But we get fooled because we see the player go toward him and then the other player fall backward, and well, it's got to be something. When a lot of the times it's not. That there is some contact, but it's contact where the player basically stops. And sometimes it's a stop and a turn, and then they they go flying. And that's what we really have to start paying attention to, especially with the rule change coming, with the flop terminology coming to the high school game. We're going to have to be way more in tune with these kids just flopping backward. Let's see, George, you wanted, already forgot already. You wanted some closely guarded.
Closely guarded.
Let me play a few closely guarded plays.
That last clip that you had, the one we just saw, there was some action on the closely guarded that I thought was interesting.
All right, here's another Facebook that I just put on a couple days ago, and my comment was, I hope Illinois adopts the shot clock full time soon because, again, the Federation and the new rules are saying that each state can adopt a no closely guarded count in the front court when a player is dribbling, if a shot clock is being utilized. And again, that's just like the men's college game. I don't know if women do that.
Women
now,
too. Yeah.
Women too.
Women
And I
too.
just think that's a great, great rule. It's one less thing we have to worry about. And if they have to shoot within 35 seconds anyway. So here's a closely guarded play.
There.
Do we like that call or no? Do we like the center
right.
making that call or no? I guess it's the trail now, but starts as the center.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
I'm not saying like it as in I don't like making it. Was the rule followed properly? Do we think that's 6 feet at this point?
No.
No.
He's probably kind of far out, don't you think?
Yep.
Doesn't look like the official is counting yet.
No.
Now, possibly
No.
6 feet here.
Yeah.
Close.
Not
Okay.
now.
Now, just
So
remember,
close.
every official is different, right? In how they determine. Yes, it's the forward foot to the forward foot, but everyone, it's hard to judge like that's exactly 6 feet or inside. So we give some leeway. I try to give some leeway. I used to really drive me insane when people wouldn't count. They're clearly inside 4, but everyone's a little different. So official starts counting. And what does the center do when he starts counting?
Follows the play.
Position.
Multiple glow.
Comes all the way up to the play. Do we agree with this motion?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That
Yes.
is the center's area. So the center has to come up to the play that they are officiating. Now he's abandoning all those other players. Right down by the paint in his area, right inside the 3-point line. So who's going to watch those?
Lead.
Lead has got to come over and help watch that, which the lead actually rotates based on the center coming up to
He did it.
officiate the play. Now, the matchup is clearly out of the center's area now. Agreed?
Yeah.
Yes.
So why does the center
Yeah.
continue to count?
Because he initiated the count. He continues to count.
If you start a count on a closely guarded, you have to stay with the count regardless of where those players go. Why is that?
But that's
Well,
how you
because they
officiate.
Well, they could be closely guarded for a lot longer. If
Right.
you don't.
So what if they're closely guarded for 3 seconds? They go out of his area and then they stop counting. And then the new official picks it up and starts a new 5-second count. Well, then they're going to be more than 5 seconds. So since you started it, you know how much time they've been closely guarded. You finish it. Does that make sense?
Got it.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, sir.
Hey, Josh,
Now,
Yeah.
question. So in that case, that's you, obviously. Would you recommend that
What's so obvious about it? The bald spot or the
Yeah,
overweight
well,
or the belly sticking
join
out?
the club. Join the
no
club.
comment. No comment.
I'll send you your membership card. Do you go out? How far out would you recommend that you as the counting official to demonstrate? Hey, I'm watching the play, or do you think you're fine where you're at?
You mean after it leaves my area?
Yeah, I mean it's moving obviously away from you. Should you go actually onto the court 4 or 5 feet to
Yeah.
demonstrate to your partners, I've got this, and to everybody, hey, I'm seeing this? I mean, what's a safe amount of space?
You can come out maybe to the red line if you want to, but for this play specifically, and I'm not a big official about coming onto the court. I just don't like coming on because then you can get in the way of the players. You got to rush off.
Yeah.
You can kind of get caught. So I don't like to do it, but you can. But right now, is there anything hindering the vision of that official?
No.
No.
So is there any real reason why that official needs to get moved closer to the play to finish and or keep that count going?
No.
No.
No, not really. So I think that's okay. If players come in the way, the official can move up maybe closer to the division line and then the red, intersecting volleyball line to get a better view or to keep getting a good view. But in this play, no, I think the official is fine and has a good view to continue.
Josh, go back when they're in the circle, when the ball kind of goes to the circle. Okay, now I'm totally nitpicking. Is there a possibility that now they have broken the 6 feet?
Totally, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I'm saying that as somebody who calls these, so I'm just asking, just from if a 50-50 kind of situation, should we have maybe thought about ending this count and starting a new
and
one?
I think that's one of the reasons why I really wish we would go to the shot clock and get rid of it, because it can be so varying back and forth, like just half of a second, which makes it back and forth. So it kind of can take our judgment and everyone's judgments out. And I don't know who that was. Yes, that was me counting. And going back to the video, I should have totally broke. But I remember in the game, I got it, right? And when you're in it, you're in it. So if we can just remove that, I think it would just make the game better. I mean, what is the kid wasn't doing anything anyway. All right.
I agree. Would just raise that because I know sometimes we nitpick over whether we should break it and stop it. And I've even had coaches where they complain that, that you broke it and whatever is not longer. So that's all I was just for us.
Yep. And we need to constantly be aware of that. All right, let's watch this one.
Ooh.
Okay, similar to the other one as far as distance. I'm going to play it fast again, and then I have some markings on this. I'll let that play out again. What do you guys think?
I think he broke it.
Right. Here,
yeah.
Now, we can't see necessarily when the official starts counting, but I think it's about here. It's 2:50 on the clock. And he's still counting. Okay, and we got 2:44. So that's clearly more than 5 seconds. Yes?
Yep.
Okay, but the question is, hold on, go back. Here we go. Here we go. Okay. If this is 6 feet, he's still closer. I don't know. Now, look, remember, again, this is easy to do while you're watching video, right? But we have to remember, it's not based really on the distance between player and player. It's the distance of the front foot to the front foot. Correct?
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah, Josh, that's why I feel like, the officials running up from behind, how does he judge that clearly or even give the perception that he's actually seeing that distance properly when you're kind of straight lined to the defender's positioning on the floor, front foot to front foot? You know what I'm saying?
I agree. And doesn't mean to ignore it and or not count, but this is another reason why, and this is coming from a guy who's terrible at staying up with the play. When it comes from this end to the other, we really should be up with the play that the player in the middle of the court furthest back, That's about as far where the official should be. We shouldn't be any further back than that. Now, again, easier said than done. These kids are faster than us. We're getting older and slower. But in order to properly count for closely guarded or to see if they're closely guarded, we have to be closer to the play. And again, it's kind of to Jeff's point. When in doubt, really, I would err on the side that they broke the 6 feet distance, because really what advantage are they gaining right here? They came in, they got stopped, and they came back out. Was there really any advantage?
No.
The purpose of this rule, well, I think the reasoning, and I could be wrong, I think the reasoning this rule was implemented was because they didn't want a player just to be dribbling around the court, wasting time off the clock. That was the purpose of putting this rule into the game, and that's not what happens here. This player is trying to make a play and is just readjusting and now getting ready to make another play again.
Well, and you talked about this, Josh, earlier about the starting position. I think we have to make a better effort to get to the starting position on almost most plays. Now, we don't want to overrun the play if he stays at like the division line, but if he's coming closer to 3-point line, because that's our game now, it's a 3-point line. And if he goes to 3-point line, he won't be able to judge whether there's a foul, likely if the shooter shoots at that moment.
Correct. If any action does happen and now there's contact in this area, which is clearly the Trail's area, the Trail does not really have a good view of it.
So if he goes, when he's at the 3-point line and goes up, he's not going to see point of contact very easily. He's going to be like the lead on the other play, looking through the offensive player's back.
He's going to be looking through and he's going to be stacked and can't see what actually, we can't even see if he went off of if he was on the 3-point line or not, if he shot, let alone any contact. So,
all right. Another thing, Josh, is like
yep.
on the, I see a lot of times like the closely guarded is being ignored, like in the first quarter. It's like, it's just not being done consistently. Now, when it gets tighter in the second half or in the fourth quarter, you know, the refs want to pay attention to it. It's a little frustrating. You know, how do you approach that with your partners when they're not
right?
Clear?
I agree. That's why I brought it up.
Right. It's actually very inconsistently done. And actually most officials don't even really care, I don't think, which is why it's not called half the time. And that's partly in that first video, when you see me making that call and Jeff pointed out that maybe they broke it. It's partly when I get into a 5-second count. Generally it's because he's being closely guarded. The kid's not doing anything. And now I'm laser focused on that. When knowing most guys don't even care about the rule, and then I care too much, and then of course I screw it up by counting when I shouldn't be counting. But that, you know, that's the mentality of an official. Do we agree?
Yeah, and
yeah,
I think 6
it can
feet
work against us.
I think 6 feet is really far away. I mean, I think they could knock it down to 4 feet, to tell you the truth. Make it a lot easier on all of us.
Well,
that's closely guarded. 6 feet isn't closely guarded, really isn't.
I would tend to agree with you. But then I would say if it's 6 feet, guys aren't calling it, and then they move it to 4 feet, then guys are going to call it unless they're right on top of them, right? So maybe there needs to be that cushion. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. All right. Do we have another topic we want to cover, or should I go to maybe a primary coverage area?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Someone said something.
Yeah, I was just going to say the best rule of thumb I've heard, maybe it's covered, but already I joined late, is just a generous arms reach is a pretty consistent way to judge it. And, you know, if there's an offensive stalling, maybe that's a little bit more generous of an arms reach. Or if it's, you know, just regular game flow, then maybe it's a shallower straight up arms reach. That's kind of what I go by.
And I think, and everyone's kind of touched on this a little bit, I think a lot of it is situational, right? Again, the 5-second closely guarded count really wasn't implemented to call at 5 minutes in the second quarter when, they're trying to run their play. It's called for when that team is trying to delay and stall and not do anything with the ball. That's really what it's designed for. It doesn't mean we just only use it in that situation, but knowing that that's what it's for can give us a little more context as to when we should or should not call it.
Just one more thing while we're still talking about
Yeah.
it. Can stopping and starting the count. Like, let's say a player's closely guarded, and the referee is counting, and someone sets a pick and they switch. Now you got a new defender, still closely guarded. When do you stop and start?
Let's see if I have one that was. Let's see if I have one that is where they're guarded by a different player, right?
Right.
But the player changes.
Yeah, my understanding, Josh and George, is if the second defender comes into that space while the first defender is there, and then the first defender leaves, the count never changes, right? You continue the count. And he was always, or she was always closely guarded, either by defender 1 or defender 2. If defender 1 moves back and another defender comes in, and there's more than 6 feet in the referee's judgment, then a new count has to start.
Count, right.
That's my understanding.
The reason I asked the question, and that's my understanding too, Joe, is of the way the rule is supposed to be enforced. But I saw it in a couple times in a playoff where the counting official stopped counting, although he was still closely guarded, and he was switched to a new defender. That's why one of the reasons I asked the question. I said, "Wait a minute, why would you stop counting?"
Yeah. So the rule is, if they're closely guarded by one player, and then another player picks them up while they're being closely guarded, and then they switch, as long as they're closely guarded by any player at any time in that period, it continues on.
That's what I thought it was.
That's the way the rule was written. Now, again, it's still written in the context of they're trying to just do nothing and delay the game, and so we got to keep that in mind. But yeah.
So you saying, Josh,
it's supposed
like on
to
the
transfer
screen?
one player to the other? Yes, go ahead.
On a screen, does that include like screen action, where it's a pick or a screen, and then that
if there's a screen that is set, and that player goes around the screen but is within 6 feet, that's still considered closely guarded.
Closely guarded.
And then that player gets screened and the other player picks them up, as long as they're within 6 feet. So all of that, yes, applies to a closely guarded. But I think the reason, George, you don't see that called very often or very much are because officials know the rule doesn't really apply here. Yes, by the written rule, that was a closely guarded account, but it's not really apply in this situation. Maybe if they're pinned up against the sideline and then, they can't do anything. Okay, great. You want to reward good defense. Now, in the same respects, we need to be more attuned to closely guarded, because if we're not, what is that player going to do? They're going to try and cause contact. They're going to hand check. They're going to that. So that's another reason why maybe we need to pay more attention to closely guarded, so we don't get to the hand checks, right? Or the body bumps. But if the kids are just playing like they're supposed to be playing, and maybe there's a little bit of, closely guarded that's questionable, I would just let them play. Most games that I officiate, very rarely are the kids trying to hold the ball, even if they're looking for a good, shot and pass it and pass it and pass it. Most teams don't pass. They want to score, and those kids want to drive, and that's generally what that I've seen. All right, let's move on to a little bit of primary coverage areas.
Yeah.
I'm just going to play this. I'm going to tell you, this is a triple whistle play. Now, we have 3 whistles on this play, so pretty good chance this was a foul. Do we agree?
Yes.
Is it okay to have a triple whistle?
No.
I think it's okay, depending on where
the ball is.
Depending on where it happens.
A double whistle, I don't see how you could have a triple whistle from the C coming across. That's
Now,
like
a triple whistle on this play, not warranted.
No.
not warranted. But if it was in that intersection where the center, the trail, the lead, all of their areas kind of intersect, you might get a triple whistle. I'm not saying it's a great thing to happen, but it's possible. It might be okay depending on the play. Here, I don't think a triple whistle was warranted because whose area is it in?
Lead.
That's it.
Coming from the tree.
Leaders.
What came from the
It's
trail?
in the leads area where the contact happens. Where did it
It's the
come
lead.
from?
From the trail.
All
Trail.
right, triple whistle. Okay. Hold on. We got to move past all this.
Center. Trail.
All right. So who calls this? Let's rewind it.
Lead.
It starts where?
Trail.
Right? Trails primary coverage area. And if there is a drive to the basket
He
and it
follows
starts in someone's area, who takes that play?
The trail.
The
trail. It's
Right,
starting
coverage.
in his area.
The trail needs to stay with the play the entire way. Even though it crosses into the lead's area, this is a drive to the basket. Why does the trail stay with it the whole way, even though it goes into the lead's area? Can anyone tell me?
That's the mechanic.
He's watching the
Well,
ball.
I mean, it
It
makes
is the
sense.
mechanic, but why is that
Following
the
the primary
mechanic?
defender.
What's the logic behind it?
Well, he's already watching that play, and when the players are not in the leads area, in this case, he's watching the plays that players in the action in his area. So it's natural for the trail to just continue watching it and finish it, and not hope that it gets picked up by the other official. And it's a contested play, right? The ball is in that guy's hand. We want to get that right.
What do they
Keep an
call
eye
it?
on the primary defender.
Start, develop, finish.
Start, develop, finish. Who has all the information on this play?
The guy trail.
The trail. He started with it. He needs to finish with it because it's a drive to the basket. Now, if they pass the ball out or maybe stops driving and comes back out, then you can say, okay, not my area. I'm going to adjust where I'm looking. Okay. Now that doesn't mean that the lead doesn't watch this play coming his way, because why would the lead now watch this play coming his way?
Well, I think the lead has a better angle. I think the lead, this is going away from the trail. This kind of goes in the lap of the lead. It looks like the contact is taking place in front of the player. The trail is looking either through or behind on some level. Now, that doesn't mean the trail can't call this, but I think his whistle cadence needs to be a little later.
Okay, so I'm not gonna. I don't want to dial on that right just yet.
Okay.
If you have, here's my point. If you have a double whistle, I know this is a triple. If you have a double whistle, how do you determine who makes the call?
Josh, that's a pregame.
Well, there's a couple things I think you consider. I think there's a philosophy to go away, stay away. When the play is going away from you and going into somebody else's primary, we got to be careful as the one it's going away from, because most of the time we are not going to see where the contact or the point of contact is, just because of the nature of where it takes place. And in this case, the contact looks like it's taking place in front of the dribbler, where the trail is not in a great spot to see that.
Where's his other hand, Jeff?
He's had the play since the beginning, though.
Where's his other
I
hand,
understand
Jeff?
that. Well, again, it depends on why he's calling it, too.
Right? Maybe he has a push in the back.
If he has a push in the back, I agree. I'm not disagreeing with that. But if he has a push or he has a slap on the front side, the lead has the best angle at that.
I 100% agree that if the trail is blowing his whistle on this, it better not be for this reach over action that number one is doing, because he can't see. Yes, chances are he fouls him, but he can't see that. The lead can see that, but the lead, if the lead blows his whistle, he better be getting the slapping action and not a push in the back, because there's no way he can see what's happening behind that player. Do we all agree with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so with that said, there's a possibility of two different kinds of fouls that each official would have actually seen. Who makes this call?
Well, obviously, if the contact is in front of the player on the shooter, it's the lead's call. If it's a contact from the back, it's the trail's call. I agree. He doesn't stop officiating that play because if the defender gets beat, he's got to follow the defender with that player. The center shouldn't even have a whistle on this.
The center
But
shouldn't have
Josh,
a
what
whistle.
you're asking is, okay, we have a double whistle. Forget the triple whistle. Who's going to put their hand down and who's going to go make the call? That's what you're asking. Correct.
Now, Jeff's point is saying we should be aware of where the foul is, and if it's going toward the official, let them take it. So the trail would drop his arm and say, "Yeah, okay, I got the foul, but it was going toward the lead. Let him take it." Right? But what if the trail's coming in, doesn't know if he got fouled up front, and he has a push in from behind? Technically, as the rule is written in the mechanics, the trail is to make this call because it started in his area and they followed it all the way. Now, I'm not saying Jeff is wrong because he's right, but we're going to have to, as officials, know the situation. I've got another whistle. Who's going to take this? You either have
that's
to.
why we have, meetings before the game and we go through, how we're going to handle different things with double whistles, etc.
And if an official comes in, this isn't a block charge play, but if an official comes in and signals a preliminary, regardless, in my opinion, this isn't written anywhere, regardless, then you need to let them take it. Because that is where we get ourselves into trouble. We get one person who signals one thing, we're completely oblivious to our partner, and then we come in and we signal something else, and now we just got mud all over our face because we don't know what's going on. We have to hear the double whistle, and then we have to be aware of where the whistle came from and what that official is doing. Both of us, not just, it's my primary, I'm taking it. If it is my primary and someone else blows their whistle, I'm still going to be going, okay, what are you doing? Because I may have one thing, he may have another. Do we agree with that statement?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, if it's a double whistle that you hear, I just think it's just a better look for the official who's closer to the play to if it's a double whistle, to take the call. I think it's always a good look for the closest official who's right there within feet of the play to take the call. It looks better to everyone in the gym.
Perception wise, the way the fans are watching the game, you have a trail who probably should have been closer up to the play, blows his whistle, and then has to come running in. Doesn't look as good as if the other official who blows his whistle and is standing right there. I agree with that.
Right.
And by the way, Josh, I could be wrong. I've been wrong many times, but the reality is all I'm saying is that the trail to me should have a more patient whistle on that play. As a matter of fact, the center should have a more patient whistle. That's why I don't even understand why the center blew their whistle on that one. But my point is be a little more difficult to wait.
Okay,
and
so
then and all I was going to say was if the lead doesn't come up with anything, and it's clearly you got the foul on the back, then come up with a whistle. It can be a half a second late
and
on
that's
that play.
And that's what for those that don't, we talk about it a lot actually every week. We've been talking more and more about a cadence whistle. A cadence whistle is I got a foul, but I'm going to wait and let the play either develop to see what happens, or my partner's going to get it. My partner didn't get it. I'm going to get it. That's what a cadence whistle is. I'm waiting for my partner. I'm going to get it. And if that really comes down to having an awareness of what Jeff was saying, where's the ball? Where's the contact? Where's it heading to, from me, away from me? Is it in the front? Is it from behind? We have to know all these things as we're officiating. We have so much stuff we have to do. That's something else that we have to do. And we have to be aware, because when you're not aware, when you get tunnel vision into only what you're looking at, and you're not aware of your partners or what they're doing, that's when we have blarges and we have whistles that contradict each other. And then we look like fools for everyone who's watching, not just the coaches and the players, but the fans. That's why a lot of times the fans are yelling and screaming, because we might be right, but that's not what they see. And unfortunately, perception is a huge part of what we do.
And I'm not saying double whistles are bad. This can happen. This could happen even if the best intentions. I'm saying just if as a general rule, I want to avoid as many of them as possible. It doesn't mean that we're never going to have them.
I've always said double whistles are not a bad thing. They're not.
No.
Because plays happen in crossover all the time. How do you handle the double whistle? That's what's most important. All right.
Next video.
Next video.
So let me ask you this on that play. If the trail made the call, right? I mean, obviously we had a double whistle, but if it's coming from the back where the trail would be able to see a push, then I think that whistle needs to come a little quicker, right? And then they could avoid the double whistle.
Well, it depends. I mean, it just depends on the play. That one, honestly, the push looks like it, if he even pushed him, came at the same time as the swipe. That's going to be pretty much a same type of play.
Okay.
But I honestly, I'm a little more in favor of what Jeff said. I mean, to keep inflating Jeff, he doesn't need that for his ego. Generally speaking, and this is something we've talked about a lot in the last couple of years, at least in Illinois, when the play is going away from you, you're generally not going to have as good of a look at it as the official where the play is coming to you. And I don't mean necessarily the play, but like the ball, right? The action is turning toward you as an official. You're going to see all that stuff that's turning toward you. You're going to be a better official to rule on whatever happens. It's turning away. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to be closer to the play. Maybe they just have the best look. And those of you who have gotten to know Ron Elysiak Sr., who's not around in Illinois anymore, but he used to say all the time, there's sometimes where the trail, who is the furthest away from the play, it's like Moses parting the sea. And he just has the best look at it, and he can come in and get it, even though he's the furthest away. And it's true. So, all right, that was a diversion off of what we're talking about. Let's do another double whistle since we're on double whistles. Okay, now, I got lots of things to say on this play, but it's ultimately a little scrum on the floor for a loose ball. And then we have all three officials in there making the call. Do we agree that right now the center official should be officiating this play?
Yes.
Yeah, very much so.
Okay.
Yeah.
The trail's watching all these players, so the trail is kind of looking in that direction. Yes?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, the players are right there.
Okay, and the lead should be watching this stuff. Doesn't really have much to look at, those two players. If he has a wandering eye, he might be looking further past, but that's where we're looking as officials. Now what do we got?
We might add a kickball.
This play is still in the center's area. Do we agree?
Yeah.
So the center
Didn't
is
it look like
on
there was a
top
foul
of
right
this.
away?
What's that, Frank?
It looked like there was a foul right away. Initial
I
contact
agree.
hit him
Okay,
on the arm.
let's talk about that in just a second.
Okay.
We still have the center official directly watching this play because it's in the center's area. The ball in the matchup is the primary focus of the center. The trail should be watching these other players over here. Doesn't mean they're not going to be looking in that general area again, but they should be watching the players behind the play. Agreed?
For sure.
Yeah.
All right, but they kind of can look over. I got that. The lead is kind of far away to be able to see that play. Do we agree?
Yes.
But the lead sees that there's something happening and there's nothing else in front of him. So they all come running in and then they stop. Did you see that? Hold on, I got to go back. They all take like one or two steps and then they stop. And nobody calls anything. And then they all come in a little bit more. So we've got 2 whistles on this. I'm not sure if the other one blew his whistle or not, but whose call should this be?
Center.
Center.
I just told you with my stupid markings, I let it play too
No,
fast.
center.
It's the center's play, right?
It's the center's call all day long.
Now, we can go back. Let's go back and see if there was a foul right away. But my point is, when this happens, we shouldn't be saying, oh no, Caden's whistle. My partner's not going to get that. My partner is right there. He's right on top of the play. You have to trust your partner to make this ruling.
Yep.
Now, you can be looking in this direction and see if there was, a punch or a violent push or some non-basketball play. Great. But this held ball has got to be the center. Now, where was this foul you guys were talking about?
Block, 13 white.
23s and the guy in white. That looks like a foul.
Does he jump on him or does he land on the ground trying to get the ball?
He's on the
It
ground.
stays-
I
stays
think it
in
was
blue.
just no
There's
Play
no foul
on.
there.
play
I don't
on,
think there's a foul there.
I got no foul.
play
Okay,
on.
so Josh, let me ask you a question. So on those held ball plays, I thought when you see like multiple bodies, not just 2, but like 3, 4 bodies kind of in that area, that you come in there just in case it gets a little scrappy in there. There's nothing wrong with a couple of officials kind of getting in there and, okay, guys, nice play, nice play, nice play. Just being around all of those guys.
Okay. This was the thing that I thought of when I first watched this play. I really, really liked how all of them came into the play. Their presence was right on top of the play. There was no doubt that the officials were in control and on it and weren't going to let it get out of control. I'm good with that. 100%. They totally came in. They came in, they stopped, and they came. I'm okay with that. They were holding in the players. But the play, really, once it was whistled, let's go back so I can show you. When it was whistled, we've got 2 officials signaling with their hand up. And then we got a jump ball by the one. And I don't know if the other official actually ever called a jump ball. Let's see. Nope, just put his hand up, which is okay. But, you got to give a call, maybe because the other official. But the trail is calling. The trail is making the jump signal. It is not the trail's call to determine. Do we agree? I think it's great. They're all there. I think that's wonderful. They should all be there showing their presence. Let the center make the call.
Josh, in the beginning of this play, did you have a push or hold on white 12? Kind of initiated contact, looked kind of illegal, like right before the whole held ball, right there.
On white
Or no?
12?
Yeah, right here. Boom, right there. No?
Possible. I can't see with this angle. He might have lost the ball because he tried to go around 13 and bumped into 13.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, he could have tried to do. Okay, thank you.
He's trying to split those defenders.
Yeah, I didn't see that part. Thank you.
Well, the only concern I have, Josh, about them all being there is what if this escalates? And now we got players now seeing something from the bench, and then they decide they want to be on the court.
Yep.
Because my concern is, I agree with you that presence is important, but I don't know the lead in this case needs to be that close.
All right. So I agree with you. I'm
yeah.
trying to give some positivity here, Jeff.
Well, the only reason I'm saying that, and let me make this clear. The only reason I'm saying that, I'm not saying that because I've done this, so I know, but I've also been burned by we come so close. Now something happens, and now we got players coming on the floor potentially, because what if somebody sees somebody throw a punch or something that's non-basketball related? Do we have a good view of the bench or have a panoramic view to make sure that we see that somebody reacts inappropriately? That could cause other issues. And then we ain't got to go back to the supervisor and say, why wasn't this kid ejected or why wasn't this happen?
And I think the positioning of the officials right here is good. I don't think there's any reason for anyone to come in any closer until, when the whistle is blown and then the trail wants to run in and help out and say, I'm here too. That's good. But the lead, I agree, really can just stand and watch and do nothing because the lead is not needed. You do not need 3 officials just because there's players down and scrums and home. You don't need 3 officials on top of it because to just point, something's going to happen over here that's not going to be seen because you got 6 eyes all on the same play. We have to continue to watch as this stuff happens. Okay, it's 8 o'clock. I want to play one more video. Does anyone have an idea of the video that they want played before I give my bonus video? We got to have a bonus video.
Give me a fight.
I only have one fight, I think. Let me see. Maybe I have another fight. I've played this before, but it's a good one. I haven't played it for a while. Just watch and keep your eyes peeled.
Uh-oh. Whoa.
I think this was before assistant coaches were allowed to run onto the floor as well, which is why you see so few coaches on this play. Now, we saw what happened, right? I mean, fastly, we saw it. The officials look like they're sending everyone to their bench.
It's a sucker punch thrown at the end.
It's 7-3 in fouls, which is why we're showing the board here. This is what happens. There's a hard foul here.
Right there.
Okay, now we're going to call this a common foul. And we could argue whether it should be intentional because he grabs him and pulls him down. And I think that it's a legit argument, but we're going to call it a common foul. Okay? We agree?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
common foul, shooting foul. Maybe it wasn't a shooting foul, but then what does 2 do?
Lays on him.
Okay, now, I know I wrote flagrant technical foul here. Is this a fight yet?
No.
Does anybody constitute this as a fight?
When number 2 pushes that kid off, that right there is your fight. That's right.
That's a dead.
Okay,
that's a
hold
dead
on,
ball
Frank.
technical
Hold on.
There's
Let's
a
say,
difference. There's a
let's
difference.
say after that kid shoves him, nothing else happens. Are you going to consider that a fight?
No.
No.
No, that in itself is not a fighting act. It is a technical foul. It is contact that is intentional and or flagrant. So that definitely is a foul, but it's not categorized as a fight yet. Okay?
So how would you call a technical foul on this play?
Now hold on. Now we've got this other player, and it's not a huge shove, but now he's shoving back. Do we have a fight yet?
No, you gotta.
If everything stops right now, now we got another shove back, and both the players, they grab their players, they pull them back, everything's under control. Are we calling this a fight?
No.
No.
No,
No.
it's just a bunch of players being knuckleheads, shoving, pushing. They want to be tough, but it's not a fight.
Agreed.
I think the white that's just a common technical for me. I don't think that's a flagrant given what just happened.
Okay, that's fine.
Especially.
That's fine.
Yeah.
And actually, I wrote this all out because I know what the ending is. But you're right. At this point, you could say intentional technical foul on both of those players. We don't need to toss them out of the game yet because all they're doing is
dead ball
pushing and
technical.
shoving, and it happens a lot. Yes?
Yeah, dead ball technical foul. I
It
think is
needs to
enough.
be penalized, but it's not a throw out of the game. And that's why I'm constantly asking now, is it a fight? Because once it is labeled a fight, everything can be addressed differently and should be addressed differently.
Yikes. Ooh.
Do we see what happened there?
Yes.
I'm going to rewind it just a little bit. Number 2, green. Here we go. They're trying to get him under control. What does he do?
Swings.
Swings. And I think he even makes contact.
Oh, yeah, you got him in the ear.
Now we got to fight.
Okay, so now that a punch has been thrown, this is considered a fight. Are you going to now say the reason the fight happened is, what's the word? Instigated by the first
Yeah.
two shoves.
Oh,
Well, we
boy.
have
No,
to
I
make.
mean, you got the green has two, he has a shove and he has and he's through, he swung, right? But there's some instigation there by the player he swung on. So that's another technical. I mean, it just goes on and on.
Now, we as officials have to make these decisions, but what I like to think to myself is, would that kid have thrown that punch if those other pushes and shoves didn't happen? And if the answer is no, he wouldn't have, then those other acts are considered a fighting act. They are
Now-
all lumped together.
Yeah. Right.
Agreed.
Agreed.
Okay? So we don't have a swing, we don't have a punch. We can avoid any of these throwouts. But I think now that there is a swing, whether it's landed or not, it is now considered fighting, and everything that happens here now is considered fighting, except for that common foul. We also have to pay attention, and no official is watching right now the benches. And I've just marked it out here, but look, this is a green bench player and a white bench player. They are on the floor. What's the penalty for that?
They're done.
Ejection.
Ejection.
But
Gone.
wait, the coaches got him and they pulled him back.
No, I left the
That's
bench.
too bad.
That's too bad. So technically, they have flagrant technical fouls because they were bench personnel that left the bench area. They came onto the floor.
Well, I have another question. Are we considering them participating in this, or are we considering them just?
Doesn't matter.
Well, it does matter. It
It
does
does
matter
matter.
because there are three categories. I'll come back to this. There are three categories that you have to determine in a fight. One, what player was on the floor that participated in the fight?
Right.
Because if you've got this player against this player, they wipe off, correct? If you've got two players and one player, these two wipe off, and then you've got one left that you assess, correct?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. What if you have three players that are fighting and one player that is fighting? How many free throws are you shooting?
2.
We're talking about players on the floor, correct?
Players on the floor.
On the floor.
I don't know.
2
We're
technicals.
gonna shoot two free throws.
2 flagrants, 4 free throws.
So one of them gonna wipe out on each side.
Right? So
Yeah.
gone. Players, you shoot.
Okay, so
Agreed?
I have a question on this. All those ones that you wiped out, are we still reporting all those? And are we all even the ones that get wiped out? Each one that gets wiped out is still tacked on in the foul count. So
Yes,
he's gonna
because
get-
even though the
Yes.
free throws cancel each other out, the
Not the
foul is
fouls.
still valid.
so we're still reporting every
Yep,
single.
so number 2, flagrant technical foul for fighting, you're gone. Number 3, flagrant technical fouling, you're gone. And then and then you say, okay, it's an offset, and we shoot this amount of
Right.
free throws. Okay.
Okay.
Now the second category that you have to determine, players are separate. You determine what happened with players, and that's separate. Now you've got to go to the next section, which is players that leave the bench but do not participate. Okay? And that's necessarily the order that it's listed in the book, but if they leave the bench but they don't participate in the fight, it is still a flagrant technical foul, and they're gone.
Right.
Okay? If one person leaves the bench and 4 people leave the bench, these wipe off. Okay? Do you shoot 3 free throws for that?
Well, wait a minute.
2 mag.
What about if they fight? There's a difference between whether they
All
fight
right,
or
well,
not.
hold on.
Yeah,
We'll
that's a
do that one
different
next.
category.
If they don't fight, you've got 3 people that didn't fight and 1 person that didn't fight. Okay? They came off the bench. Wipes off. So you've got 2 players now extra from the other team. Do you shoot 2 free throws for each player?
No.
No, you only shoot 1. You could have the whole bench clear and only 1 player clear. You're only going to shoot 2 free throws. Okay? Not per player, just for the action. Does everyone
Just-
understand that? There's
Well,
a third, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I'm
There's
sorry.
a third category after that. Now you've got to determine if a player leaves the bench onto the floor and then they do participate.
Oh, right.
That is a completely different category. So you've got player category, non-player category that doesn't participate, and non-player category that does participate. And that one, now I'm going to screw this one up. I'm pretty sure that one, you have to, each one still gets their foul, and you shoot the free throws for everyone who participates. So if you've got 2 and 1, they wipe off. Can't do this. 2 and 1, they wipe off, and you shoot. But if you've got 4 and 1, they wipe off, and you shoot free throws for each one of them who participate. Why is that? Because if you're throwing punches, no matter where you come from, you need to get a severe penalty.
Yeah, it's more
that is
severe.
the logic behind it.
There's also another factor in this too.
Oh, what's the other factor?
We got bench personnel. So what is the penalty to the coaches for the ones that come off and participate and the ones that don't? Or let's say we got a bunch of them that come off and don't participate, meaning in the fight. They're not peacemakers.
Okay, so the penalty is the same. It's still wiping off. It's still the same amount of free throws as we talked with non-players, because whether they're bench personnel, statisticians, the same. But if it is an adult bench personnel, they are ejected and they have to leave the confines of the gym. If it is a player, whether it's wearing a uniform, I think even if it's a statistician who's just in plain clothes, if it is a kid, they have to stay on the bench. Is that what you're getting at, Jeff?
No, that's not completely what I'm getting. I'm talking about the ramifications for the coach.
Isn't it indirect for every player coming off the bench?
See,
and then
that's what I'm addressing, because it's.
Oh, you mean okay. So then now
the
we've got the ramifications of an
Yeah.
indirect technical foul to the head coach.
And my point is that we treat the ones that, let's say 4 come off, don't participate, or they're peacemaker. To my understanding, that is 1 bench technical foul for the 4 if they don't participate, just to make it simple.
Okay, so if there's 4 that leave, it's only 1 indirect technical foul to the coach, no matter how many people leave if they don't participate. But if 2 or 3 or 4 leave and they do participate, it is an indirect technical foul for each player. So you only need 2 for each player that leave. If they leave the bench and they participate, 2 indirects. That head coach is gone.
No, three indirects.
3 indirects. Thank you.
Three indirects.
3 indirects and they're gone.
I got a question.
And you say, well, that's pretty harsh. Yes, because participating in a fight, they don't want it at all. And you have to penalize harshly to try and deter that from happening. There's a lot to think about. And you know what? We're all going to miss something or get it wrong if it happens, because how often does a fight happen? Hardly ever, which is a good thing. But that means when it does happen, we're all like, what do we do? And I'll tell you, I think the biggest thing that is missed in a fight are the bench personnel that come onto the floor or don't come on the floor. Most officials are not even looking for that, because you're worried about the action on the floor, right? The punches and the swings, and you want to get it all and don't miss it once it get hurt, and you're not paying it. To Jeff's point back on I think it was the held ball play, one official really always needs to stand back and just watch. Just watch. Don't worry about getting in there and trying to stop it. There's 3 people out there. Those other 2 can do it. Watch the benches, watch the coaches, figure it out. So when you are done, you have the knowledge and say, I know that 11 came off the bench and 12 came off the bench, or whatever, however you do it.
I guess in theory, then, with all the wild scenario, you got a brawl breakout fight. Is there a scenario where we're shooting more than 2 free throws? We could shoot as many as 4, as many as 6. I'm not.
Yeah, of course.
The players that participate in a fight are held each to their own standard.
Okay.
If you participate and there's 4 people that participate, you're shooting free throws for all of those 4.
That's my question.
I guess they do. They wipe off if they're even, right? So I mean, my point is, if it's 4 and 4, you're shooting nothing. But if it's 4 and 1, you're going to be shooting 3.
That's what I'm getting at right there.
Yeah. Okay. The new rule addresses that, because there's a new rule where they kind of say that regardless of what kind of penalty, if they have shoot free throws, if they are the same penalty, we'd wipe them out. And even though fighting is not necessarily that the case, but now it doesn't matter when it happens.
For 24-25.
Yes, for 24-25.
Yeah, I haven't read it in great analysis, but there's some good stuff in there that can ultimately help us sort some of this garbage out. So,
hey, so Josh, who gets the ball?
That's a great question. Let me go back to this real quick, just for this simple fight. I know fights aren't simple.
Probably white. Green was the aggressor.
Point
in
of
this one.
interruption.
There we go. Okay, so these were the fouls that we witnessed on the video. A common 3 flagrants and 2 bench flagrants, right?
Mhm.
You're going to shoot 2 free throws for the common foul. I think it was a shooting foul, and if it wasn't a shooting foul, it would be determined whether it was bonus or not. And I think it was 7-3, so they're going to be shooting. 2 free throws for the green, because there's 1 green, 2 green and 1 white, and the white and green offset. Okay, those were the players that were involved. And then the bench, white and green, those offset. So we're going to be shooting 4 free throws for this fight. Who gets the ball? And they're all ejected. Everyone's ejected. That's whether they participate or not, they're ejected.
Disqualified.
Oh, I got a
Who gets the ball?
no.
White.
Green.
White. Mine opposite the table.
Okay, so who had more fouls than the other?
Green did.
Green?
Yeah, green had the
Okay,
extra
so green had
flagrant
more
technical.
fouls, which means white's shooting. Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so if
Yeah.
white's shooting, they got the last technical foul, they're also going to get the ball. It's just the way it weighs out.
So
Does that make sense?
Yes.
I don't know
You
if
can't say,
that's
well, we're going to go to the arrow
I
because
completely
everyone
with that.
fought. No, they had 3 fighters. They only had 1 fighter. So yes, you stink, but you don't stink as bad as they stink. So you're going to get.
And
That
you shoot
logically
everything in
makes
the order
sense.
in which it took place.
What was that, Jeff?
And you shoot everything in the order in which it took place.
And you shoot it in the order that it took place. Yes.
Fouls, if those fouls happen at relatively the same time,
Yeah.
Or
I think it goes back to point of interruption.
No.
no, it's
No.
not a point of interruption
Oh,
because
green
they're
would get the
technical
ball.
fouls.
No.
And it's not a
Technical
Not
point of interruption.
interruption.
Point of interruption is only when there is a double technical or a double foul, because they happen at the same time. You can't determine who did what or when. But when you've got offsetting or ones that are more than another, you can determine, which you can't here. So since white had more fouls than green or whichever it was, then they get whoever shoots the free throw of that last technical foul gets the ball. If you get it wrong, nobody's going to say anything. In fact, just cancel the game, send them home, and you're good to go.
Get your check first.
Thank you, Josh, for showing that.
Thank you, Jeff. Josh.
Thanks for bringing that up, Frank.
So that's my only fight video. If you guys have a fight this year, send it to me so I can build up my fight video library.
That's good.
You'll be one of the first people I contact, Josh. Don't worry.
All right. So starting in July, we're going to start our meetings for next year. We're going to talk about all of these topics next season. Trust. It's going to be more about trusting your partners, not blowing your whistle when you shouldn't be blowing your whistle. So kind of when we talked about the primary coverage areas and the double whistles, the cadence whistle, those types of things. That's what we're going to talk about in July. Hopefully you can make it. We're going to send that link out, like I said. If you are not a member, I urge you to become a member, but you don't have to be. We always record and post everything on YouTube. So you can always watch it there if you're interested, but that's it. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Josh.
All right. Take care, guys.
Thank you, Josh.
Take
See ya.
care, Tim.
Josh.
Yeah, take care.